In a major blow to opposition, Peter Obi and Obi Kwankwaso have formally declared for Nigeria Democratic Congress, NDC. Their declaration followed a marathon closed-door meeting with the leadership of the party of the Abuja residents, or at the Abuja residence of former Bayelsa State Governor and NDC national leader Seriake Dixon. Reacting to Obi's exit from the ADC, the presidency described him as a political nomad, prone to opportunistic shifts. At the same time, All Progressives Congress, APC, criticized Obi, describing him as a political rolling stone, moving across political parties in search of an uncontested presidential ticket. Addressing party faithfuls and supporters shortly after their formal declaration, Kwankwaso said their decision to join NDC was driven by shared ideological alignment and a collective resolve to reposition Nigeria.
We know what you are bringing on board. The Nigerian people know what you are bringing on board to the NDC. There will be time enough for campaigns. And on behalf of the teeming members of our party, well-meaning Nigerians from all over our country who in the last 5 months have defied all odds and doubts, conquered all doubts, and invested their trust and confidence in the dream and vision of this party. On behalf of all of them, I thank you all and I welcome you all specially to the NDC and to my humble home. I want to, on behalf of all of us in the NDC family, one of the youngest political families in Nigeria, but a family that no doubt is prepared to box above its weight. I welcome you to Nigeria's fastest developing, fastest growing party. I welcome you all to Nigeria's most stable political party. I welcome you all to a party that has no faction. Yes, sir. To a party that has no litigation whatsoever. I also want to welcome you to a party that does not know what is called status quo anti-balloon.
Number one, I think it's going to be the beginning of more troubles for the NDC because the litigations will begin. The litigations as regards even the registration of the NDC. Yeah. People that have not gone to court, they will go to court.
Well, there's already one attempt to
go to court, I know. So it will begin. Because you see, as Nigerians, the idea here is not Obi not being on the ballot. That's the problem. So all the forces will do everything to ensure Obi doesn't get on the ballot. I do a lot of political mapping, and I know people that do political mapping. The ADC, APC, all the political parties have done political mapping. The only person that can give President Tinubu some push in this election is Obi. The first strategy is to ensure Obi doesn't get on the ballot. The crisis in the ADC was just because of that. Secondly, the point of Obi is always pivoting to other political parties. Let us go back to what history says. Exactly what happened in PDP, why Obi pivoted, that's what exactly happened in the ADC. Atiku was not willing to ensure that the rotation convention comes to pass. Atiku was not supposed to run in the 2020 election after he had run in the last term of the northern part election in 2019. And that was why the likes of Wiki went up in arms. And that's why sometimes, even if I blame Wiki for not being a party man, he had some justifications in his actions. And that was why Obi left. Obi kept on saying that if you zone it to the south, I'll fight for it. So it's not that he doesn't like to fight. In the case of the ADC, the Atiku camp had already hijacked most of the structure in the ADC. The state chairman we're talking about, we're already hijacked by the Atiku camp. Over the weekend, I walked the phone lines for my sources. I mean, we're political journalists. We walk our sources' phone line. Most of it was already a fait accompli. So there was no way Obi was going to be able to thrive or get a fair situation in this election process. That's why he left. Yes, I know he tried to be cute about it by saying my elder brother Atiku is because of the court case. Peter, Gregory, Obi, you and I know that it is not because of the court case that you left. It is because you were already boxed into a corner. You can write a statement to deny what I said. It's your prerogative. And you know you were already boxed into a corner. And because agreements were not listened to. Part of what I heard was discussed in the Ibadan consensus by one of my sources, I might be wrong, was that there was a conversation about the ADC candidate coming from the south. But people reneged against it. The Atiku team reneged against it. These are the things I'm walking the phone lines and my sources are saying. So I know the Atiku camp will come out and debunk all the things I've said. It's for you to deny. It's for you to debunk. I mean, mine is for me to speak my truth and you to rebut. So once that did not fall through and the consolidation had started, Obi had to leave because Obi wanted to be on the ballots. Yes, you might make an argument and say, why is he moving all around and everything? He has an ambition. For those that argue, why is Obi moving around? Why is Atiku still running as at 20 from 1993 up till now? And some people are saying, Atiku, this might be his last lap. This is not going to be his last lap. If Atiku is in good health, he will run in 2031. Mark that down. He has his ambition. Yes. You know, former Liverpool coach Bill Shankly famously said, people think football is about life and death, but they are wrong. It's more than life and death. For politicians, politics is more than life and death. Atiku Abubakar's ambition is to become the president of Nigeria. As long as he's in good health, he will keep running until he gets the ambition, the aspiration, and it's his goal. Secondly, what will this do? The first winner will be President Tinubu. But anyway, I had always known that they were going to disintegrate because there was no way they were going to agree in the first place, because the ambition of Atiku Abubakar was more palpable than stepping down. And when people kept on seeing the other statesman, President Tinubu will make a lot of inroads, yes, also because he's also running with state might at this point in time, the power of incumbency. So it's not going to be as easy. And this is not a Buhari that allows things run. So the votes Obi said he got, the votes Obi got in the last election, he might not get as much because there will be many factors. The other argument I would like to make in the Southeast, you see, President Tinubu, they can tell you that they will give you votes in the Southeast. I'm not sure Nigeria's politics is so mature to the level that people in the Southeast will see Obi on the ticket and see you on the tickets and decide to vote you over Obi. It will be a miracle if Nigerian politics has gotten to that level. So as regards the South, I've seen a lot of inroads. The South-South is quite split and all of that. But I think what will herald these elections even more that we should be careful about are the things about the electoral laws that have made it pretty much to rig. So it's going to be an election that, correct me if I'm wrong, and I pray I'm wrong on this, there might be a lot of rigging across board. President Tinubu will retain most of his southwestern states, and it will be even split. But with this that they've been able to do, I think they'll just open the door for a President Tinubu second term, easier than ever, which is a sad reality of things as we speak today because they can't come together. But let me even posit it further by arguing that if they were even together in the first place, would they have been able to beat an incumbent that knows how to use power? No, let's stop being delusional. I mean, Dr. Abati, let me punch you this morning. President Tinubu no be Jonathan.
All right. Okay, what a way to end that summation. But, okay, a few things to just consider. Of course, like you mentioned, Sumna, and I think Dr. Bat ended on that note that it's going to be an interesting race to 2027. There have been a lot of permutations and calculations. I've done my own share of permutations and calculations based on the elections of 2023. And to give you the numbers, based on this new development with the NDC, and I just a little joke that they just took out the A and put an N because of the African Democratic Congress to the Nigeria Democratic Congress. So they've left the continent and come back to Nigeria. But that's on a lighter note. But on a serious note, looking at the numbers and the performance of both, of both principals, in this case, Mr. Peter Obi and Kwankwaso, let us dissect how they did in 2023 when the president was not incumbent at the time. Again, you cannot put away state power in the Nigerian political space. In the 2023 general elections, Mr. Peter Obi came third and he had 6,101,533 votes. Rabi Musa Kwankwaso came a distant fourth and had 1,496,687 votes. He was able to only capture Kano in terms of the states where he won. And that's, of course, because of his huge Kwakwansia movement. On the other hand, Mr. Peter Obi had Southeast, he had Abia, Enugu, Ebonyi, Anambra, and Imo. And in the Southeast states, he had about 80 to 90% of the share of votes in most of these states. In the South-South, he got Edo, Delta, and Cross River. In the North-Central, he got Plateau and Nasarawa. In Southwest, he got Lagos State, which I'm sure must be a big, deal in the neck of the APC, because I'm sure till today they haven't forgiven that move. Because Lagos State, of course, was traditionally the city boy state. This was his domain where he had the master plan. And if there's any state no one should beat him, it should be Lagos State. And that was a big blow to the APC and the Tinubu campaign. And then the FCT as well, Abuja. And that caused a lot of, you remember the court cases around, is it a state? Should it be recognized as a state? Does it matter? Does it not matter? Must you get the FCT? Must you not get the FCT? And President Tinubu, through the courts, was able to establish that the FCT was not compulsory when it comes to capturing states. And so if you look at the election of 2023, Mr. Peter Obi did well enough to give President Tinubu a run for his money during these elections. However, the challenge of a party. Because according to the Constitution, Chapter 6, Part 1, Section 131C says, To qualify as president in Nigeria, you must be a member of a political party and you must be sponsored by that political party. Perhaps it's time, in the interest of fairness, and since we see that one of the challenges of free, fair, credible elections in Nigeria or a strong democracy is internal democracy in our political parties. Maybe we should start to explore the idea of independent candidates so that people who want to run without having to maneuver through the intricacies of politics of money, strongholds, and things like that can actually have a fair chance of running. Perhaps it's time to begin to have those conversations. Then we would not have, political officers or people, hopefuls like people will be moving from party to party, and even Atiku Abubakar, the same Buhari did the same thing. A lot of political hopefuls did the same thing just because they couldn't find space in parties. And let's do away with ideology. If you look at other countries where political parties matter, where they have strong systems, the US, the UK, you will see that each party has an ideology. So it's difficult to just move around because you know that this is the reason I support. In fact, in the UK, for instance, and I know that, they're far away in their democracy, but you need to look at people or places where it's worked. You will see that it's almost a religion, it's almost a way of life, it's almost a culture. You're born into Labour, you're born into Conservative, and along the line, your values might change and you might decide to change. But along the line, there's usually, when I was in school, from university, from secondary school, you already knew young Labour, this is where you're going to, and they were very firm on ideology. We don't have that in Nigeria. There's no ideology. Political parties are simply vehicles on which politicians are able to exercise based on the constitution. And so maybe we might have better chances of better qualities of candidates or people who can really, well, let me not say better qualities of candidates, but people who really want to get into the political arena without the stronghold of a political party that does not align at all with the ideology but provides a vehicle for them. That is something that we must look at in the Electoral Act or the Constitution in order to make progress. Now, the coalition. Peter Obi and Obi Kwankwaso, if you add their votes together, you would have gotten 7.598220 votes in the 2023 elections. President Tinubu won with 8,794, 8,794,726 votes. They would still have fallen short of his votes based on the 2023 elections. Atiku had 6,984,520 votes in the last election. If three of them had come together, they might have, if they were able to sustain the votes from 2023, polled 14,582,740 votes collectively. And that is almost close to double the votes that President Tinubu got in 2023. And that is why the Ibadan gathering, the Ibadan summit, was seen as a red light or a light in the tunnel for the opposition parties, if only they were able to come together to form a coalition. But already was predicted that it would be very difficult for them to work together because each person's ambition superseded the political strategy to come together as a whole to challenge President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the elections. And so, unfortunately, by this move, as popular as Peter Obi is, it might just be, unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately because it depends on the votes of the people, it might just be handing over the elections of 2027 to President Bola Tinubu. And these are some of the factors that work against this coalition. As popular as they are, as wide as their bases, with the obedient and the Kwankwansias, it's important to remember something. The NDC is a newly registered party, registered on the 5th of February 2026 through a court order. And Rufai, you're right, I hope there will be no more issues. But there was a court order that established the national leaders of the party and mandated INEC to recognize them as a political party. Number two is that they are still new. Their structures, yes, they have millions of people registered, but do they have state structures to challenge what the APC currently has, especially with a lot of campaigns they've started, the City Boy movement and the likes and all that? Number three is that since the 2023 election, the obedient movement, we've seen some resignations, we've seen some losing of steam in certain areas. I'm not sure the same wave that they had in 2020, and I'm being very honest, it's the same wave they have here in 2027, in 2026. He has his work cut out for him. There's a lot of mobilization to be done. The same for the Kwankwansia movement. Don't forget now that Kano State, the governor, Abba Yusuf, is now in the APC. So that vote is also going to be divided, even though the red cap movement is very huge. And so if there's any chance, but the only thing we're asking for is we've said a free playing level field for all politicians, but even most importantly, let there be a vibrant competition where Nigerians can have the opportunity to choose, and let it not be the courts that decide or INEC acting as a stumbling block in many areas. And so finally, I'll just end on this point finally, and that is that the Obi Kwankwaso ticket seems like a very viable ticket because of their solid base. However, would the base be strong enough to challenge a President Bola Ahmed Tinubu who has enjoyed some sort of, sustainability in his party? Not a lot of issues have happened. They've been able to sort things out politically, internally, and has also been able to use state might in certain regards. But again, I do not want the electorate to feel discouraged, feeling like the 2027 election has been decided. Everyone should have the right to come out to vote, no voter apathy, and ensure that their voices are heard, and that INEC enables a free and fair and credible election, and let the best man win that Nigerians themselves vote for.